In this video, we're going to talk about goats. They've been our partners for something like 10,000 years, giving us everything from food to just plain friendship. But how much do we actually know about them? Well, we're going to dive right into the world of these super adaptable and really intelligent creatures. Okay, let's get into it. First, let's just get a sense of the sheer scale we're dealing with. Right now, there are over 1 billion goats on the planet. I mean, that is a massive number, and it tells you right away just how important these animals are to people all over the world. So, okay, with over 1 billion goats out there, where are they all living? Let's take a little trip around the globe and see where they are. And wow, this chart really tells the story, doesn't it? The huge, overwhelming majority of goats, I mean, we're talking more than 90%, live in Asia and Africa. The numbers everywhere else are just tiny in comparison. It really shows you what a central role they play on those two continents. And if we zoom in a little closer, this slide shows us the real heavy hitters. In Asia, you've got countries like China and India with just enormous goat populations. And over in Africa, nations like Nigeria and Sudan are home to tens of millions of them. And this isn't random. It really speaks to how culturally and economically vital goats are in these specific places. Alright, now that we know where they are, let's get back to the basics. What actually makes a goat, well, a goat? Okay, so the most important thing to know is that goats are mammals, and they're what's known as small ruminants. All that really means is they have this special, multi-chambered stomach, which is the secret to their diet. Beyond that, they usually live for about 15 to 18 years, and after a 5-month pregnancy, a mother goat or a doe typically has twins, though singles or even triplets happen pretty often too. And what a diet it is! See, we often think of sheep just peacefully grazing on grass, but goats are different. They're what you call browsers. They actually prefer to eat stuff like thorny bushes, shrubs, and weeds, all the tough plants that a lot of other animals won't touch. This is what makes them so incredibly versatile and such adaptable eaters. So, we know they're adaptable eaters, but what happens when you get a whole bunch of them together? Let's take a look inside the herd, because their social lives are surprisingly complex. Oh, absolutely. Goats are super social and definitely establish a clear hierarchy. This pecking order is usually set by the dominant male or the buck, and that's who earns the right to mate with the females. But living in a herd also means they face dangers together, from predators like coyotes and wild dogs, and even eagles that might try to snatch a young kid. And what's really wild is how that social rank changes their behavior, especially towards us humans. Now, here's where we see this really fascinating link between a goat's social life and its relationship with people. So, researchers have found that the high-ranking goats, they tend to be a bit more aloof. They keep their distance. But the lower-ranking ones, they actually stay physically closer to us and get used to being handled a lot faster. And that relationship with humans, it's incredibly deep. We're talking about a partnership that was forged right at the dawn of agriculture. Goats were one of the very first animals to ever be domesticated, something like 10,000 years ago. But after all this time, you have to wonder, how do they actually see us? When a goat looks at a person, is it seen a friend or a potential threat? Well, at their core, goats are prey animals, so their basic fundamental instinct is to be cautious. This quote kind of sums it up. Even after thousands of years living with us, their default setting can still be to see a big creature like a human as a potential predator. But, and this is a really big but, that fear is not set in stone, not at all. That initial hesitation can be completely turned around. Gentle, positive contact, especially when they're young, things like stroking them, speaking in a calm voice, that builds trust and can create an incredibly strong positive bond between a goat and a person. Finally, let's run through a few surprising facts that just prove there's so much more to these animals than most of us ever realized. First step, goat meat. It's actually the most widely eaten red meat in the entire world, and this chart kind of helps explain why. I mean, just look at that. Compared to chicken, beef, even pork, goat meat is way lower in calories and fat. That makes it a really lean and healthy choice for millions of people. Okay, this slide is just packed with amazing stuff that shows how unique goats are. For one, they're not just a tighter sheep. They're genetically different, with 60 chromosomes compared to a sheep's 54. But it's their cognitive abilities that are really mind-blowing. Think about this. They can read our facial expressions, and they actually prefer it when we look happy. Even crazier, if they get stuck on a problem, they will literally look through semen for help, just like a dog would. That shows a level of social smarts that most of us just never give them credit for. And all of this really leaves us with one final big thought. We've seen that goats can be emotionally aware, they can be problem solvers, they can be our partners. It just makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other animals that we share this world with might we be totally underestimating? All right, that is it for this video, everyone. Thank you for watching. Please make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next video.